The roller coaster of a journey it was watching the Memphis Tigers from a first half that included the home fans booing on opening night to ultimately getting a win and a very nice second half response from the Tigers as they beat Missouri here in Memphis last night.
I'll go ahead and get started and say I think if people don't understand the magnitude of the energy that Tiger Nation brings in that form, I think you need to rethink some things. I mean, only because we go down, 15, 20 points in the first half, abysmal first half. I mean, it was terrible. And I do think, one of the cons to this, I do think one of the things that the country is going to take heed to is that Penny struggles in the zone. They played us in a 3-2, and we just simply had trouble getting in the zone. Or scoring in the zone. We were having trouble penetrating. We were having trouble finishing. We just could not figure out what to do in that zone. But night and day, first half to second half, we come out, we start attacking, we start trying to get to the rim. Moussa Cisse, imposes his will on the inside.
Would you like a piece?
Oh, no, I'm good.
Okay.
He imposes his will on the inside, picks up the slack. Nick Jourdain, he gets into foul trouble. And I think it shows a testament to how much we can rally together and win ball games, especially after this Smith news. I mean, come on. 6 hours before the game, you got somebody who say they're ready to bounce over some NIL discrepancies and everything else. Obviously, that's another conversation for another day. But I think, with the monster half that we had, I think it shows a testament to what we can do if we come together and stick together. Now, this may not happen with every team because we may play a team and they may come out and bury us. We go down 15, 20 points, and they may keep us there. So doing stuff like that on the road like we did last night may not always be possible. So we got to learn how to rally and stick close to games when we have them.
You mentioned the home crowd. It did interest me. Like Dennis Gates, the coach of Missouri, he brought it up multiple times in his post-game press conference, talking about how it kind of threw them off their game. And I think the thing that really stood out to me, both in watching it and seeing specifically the defensive turn-up in the second half. It looked like a Penny Hardaway calling card team, right?
Yeah.
Like a team that's turning defense into offense. And when you have limited scoring, that is a great way to start surging points where you can get them.
Yeah.
But reading the responses from the team afterwards and some of the post-game remarks, I thought were really thoughtful, and particularly Tyrese Hunter, who I guess gave a speech at halftime and specifically called out multiple players, not in a negative way, just in a very real way. And to do that on night one of the regular season, and any reference to the games that they had in their exhibition opportunities against both North Carolina and Alabama. But just how encouraging is it from like a leadership standpoint to already be hearing things like that? Like, this team has some deficiencies. I don't want to just completely skate over that. But it does feel like there's a different tone with this group than maybe we've seen the last couple of years.
Like I said, I think Penny's gotten to a point to where he's fed up in terms of, especially with like I said, the Smith news. It's very easy for something like that to come up and you try and salvage it, or you try and fix it, or you try and we can do this, or, pacify it, whatever the case may be. But instead, it's it's just kind of like, come on, dog, you got the role. It's getting cancerous.
Right.
It's trauma. It's all kinds of disruption. And then when you have guys like that with no egos that want to come together and win a game, I mean, yeah, we may not have like a legit superstar yet. There may be a guy in there that may turn it on and peak at the right time. But right now, you got a bunch of guys who just, after, like what you said, going to the locker room, are able to hold each other accountable and fire each other up without any malicious intent, and get out there and come together, because they could have easily went to the locker room and laid down and just, went away. But instead, they went in there, they did what they had to do, they gave the speeches, and they came out on fire and really tried to cut that lead and ultimately won the game.
Who impressed you the most?
Cisse.
Cisse.
And the reason being is because,
Me too.
You see that free throw shooting, who he's been known to just lay a brick house when it comes to shooting free throws. I think he went, last time I looked, I think he went 6 for 10, 7 for 10, something crazy.
Yeah.
He was holding on to the ball, finishing around the rim. Couple plays, I thought he could have finished through, but ultimately I think he showed up and he played and he did a damn good job on the night.
Yeah, it stood out to me. It is an odd thing watching the first game of the season. And like Chris watched the exhibition games with me, but it's kind of just background noise, and so maybe you're focused a little more. And when he heard Moussa Cisse, he was like, wait, Moussa Cisse is back in Memphis? And I was like, yeah. But it is a catch-up period of figuring out who some of these players are.
Right.
How different does that feel? And how do you think that impacts like where a season starts for a team, especially fan support-wise and just understanding? Because it is difficult to feel like you're playing a name game watching the first game of the season.
Yeah. I think now, obviously Grind City Media is great. Don't take this the wrong way. Anybody, I don't want to say we don't have a team full of nobodies, because that's not it by any means. I think for the people on the outside looking in, your casual Tiger fans who really don't pay too much attention other than wins and losses, because, you got your keyboard warriors and keyboard killers who can easily get on Facebook, this team sucks. I mean, I saw plenty of it the first half.
Right.
NIT team, let's get this guy out of here, Penny's a joke, all this stuff. Then we come out, and people took screenshots and saved them all. But when you have a team full of guys who have the ability to have a blank canvas and can make an identity for this team, for this city, and for themselves, I think there's a lot of upside to that, because it's super silly. I'm a huge Marvel guy, but in one of Spider-Man's movies, he said, if you expect disappointment, you won't ever be disappointed. And I think people don't know what to get. They don't know what they're going to get with this team. So I think the team has, like I said, the ability to create whatever narrative they want with the wins and the losses and the road wins. It's going to be bumps and bruises. But how we bounce back from them and how they respond to a lot of the stuff that they're going to see on the road and during the season, I think that's a huge positive.
Yeah, and I loved it. Like I covered Moussa Cisse when he was at Lausanne.
Yeah.
And remember going to those games back in the day and being like, oh, that was one of the hardest things that I had to learn moving to Memphis, because my first job was in the Tri-Cities, Washington, and no disrespect to those high school athletes there, but there wasn't the same number who were being heavily recruited by like high-level universities.
Right.
And so moving to Memphis, I would just like fall head over heels with these kids who I was like, I'm going to watch them from the time that they're in high school until they're in the league.
Yeah.
And this excitement, there was this receiver, I'll never forget, a wide receiver at Ridgeway, Kendarius Taylor.
Yeah.
And he was going to go to Oklahoma, and he was going to be like the best receiver to come out of Memphis. And he ended up transferring to Memphis for a hot second and flamed out and just was never anything. And it was so hard to watch. And I would see someone like a Moussa Cisse or a DJ Jeffries when I covered him at Olive Branch, and hoping to find for Musa like this last chance in college to go out and like reclaim your name for yourself. And
Musa,
I think
he got a shot,
cool
man.
Thing.
He got a shot. He got a shot. He just, like, again, we've all talked about, Musa needs to work on his hands a little bit. But if he continues to progress like he did last night,
I was really encouraged.
There's a spot for him. He runs like a deer. His conditioning could be a little bit better. But, the ceiling's, sky's the limit for a guy like Moussa Cisse in the league, especially the way the game's going. He doesn't necessarily have to shoot jumpers, but if he can just finish around the rim, and if you get a guy, God forbid he get a guy on his team like Ja Morant or something like a point guard that can want that is good at passing him the ball, can get past their defender and make a big man help, that's dump-offs and lobs for a guy like Cisse all day.
The Jessica Benson Show with CJ Hurt, live every weekday at 8 a.m.